Well, what has been new in the world of AI? As any given day, it changes pretty much every day. That is a guarantee right now that every day there's going to be something new with AI. Oh, well, let's see. We have the release of ChatGPT 4.1. So, yep, you heard that correctly. It was 4.5 that came out a month ago. And now we're back down to 4.1. I'm not quite sure why they decided to go 4.1 instead of just go to 4.6, but I guess they're getting rid of 4.5. They're gonna pull support for that, and they are going to 4.1, which seems to have been making a pretty good splash so far. Um, People are liking its coding capabilities, not quite as much still as something um, like Gemini 2.5. Gemini 2.5, in terms of coding, seems to be still the most popular choice right now. It's been Sonnet, it's been Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 3.5, and then 3.7 when they released that about a month ago. That's been number one for quite a while. But man, Google they made a great splash when they first released their 2.0 Flash updates, and then quickly after that 2.5 Pro, which everyone in the coding world seems to be loving quite a bit. I'm seeing on Twitter, on X, pretty much every day about people just loving 2.5 as their main coding assistant slash agent of choice right now. So yeah, Gemini 2.5. We're gonna look at some rankings in a little bit, but just wanted to start out with what is new. Well, even the rankings, I mean, it's still gonna show kind of what's new, right? But yeah, back to OpenAI and ChatGPT 4.1. Um, when 4.5 came out, it felt really rushed. I think the reason they did that is because it came right after the announcement of XAI's Grok 3, and Grok 3 was making waves. Like they had a pretty cool presentation. If you ask me, it wasn't a lot of new stuff per se, but what happened after that, it feels like that contributed quite a bit to vibe coding. I would say Grok 3 and the concept of creating your own video game. I think that's one thing that really kicked it off. And just regular people hearing that and be like, oh, geez, I could create my own video game. Oh, I could get something like Cursor and just basically feed pseudocode to my agent 3.5, Sonnet's 3.5, and man, it just writes all this code for me. Wow, this is great. And we saw a lot of video games showing up on X. A lot of just kind of in-house solo video games. Like nothing of great quality, but do we really care about good quality? I mean, Minecraft was popular for quite a while. Still is pretty popular. Not the greatest quality, but like it's fun. It's fun creating those games, and it's fun playing those games, and it's fun kind of just sharing it and seeing what other people are doing. And that created a big wave, and I think because of that, that's probably why Sam and OpenAI decided to come out with 4.5, which uh, yeah, I mean, it didn't really land, right? So, man, it, I do think they made advances in writing, but let's be honest, like the early adopters or the innovators, so the innovators are before the early adopters in the curve, are mostly developers. And developers are really, really into coding, obviously, because that's what they do. And they're really into something that's going to help with their everyday life. Again, something that's going to be a coding assistant, a coding agent. So I think that's kind of where it fell flat because it didn't quite help with that so much. And with 4.1, I think it measurably improves over 4.5 in terms of coding capabilities, but at the same time, it's still not to par with what people are saying with Gemini 2.5 Pro. Oh man, I'm getting tired of all these version numbers. These version numbers and variants of models. Like, what do you have? Like with anything, it's whatever the version number is slash mini slash turbo slash pro slash behemoth slash whatever. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just kind of like model overload, and it becomes very difficult to know which one is right for what you are doing. Again, we hear a lot about what models are great for developers, but we're not hearing quite as much as to which models are best for just the average person. And again, it's because the average person is not going to necessarily be one of the innovators or really even early adopters. Their form of adoption is more so like, oh, cool, I have this ChatGPT app or I have this Grok app. Oh, Grok is hilarious. I'm going to talk to it uncensored mode. It's going to give me all this R-rated, X-rated advice, and uh, oh man, like uh, yeah, like the average person loves that, right? Like I was hanging out with some friends the other day, and we're just talking to Grok uncensored, and it was fun. And that's what the average person is gonna understand. It's like, wow, like this is cool. I'm talking to it. It's responding. It understands what I'm asking it to do. There's not like a ton of delay within the conversation. It's a little wordy, but it's still funny. And hey, it's also helpful because now I'm just asking Grok, or now I'm just asking my ChatGPT app questions that I normally would ask Google. And that I think is definitely a pattern that we're seeing. You see Elon on X is saying just grok it, and retweeting people that say just grok it. And I think there's for sure a lot of truth in that. I know that I see myself doing that more often. Like I'm using Google a lot less, and I'm using ChatGPT and Grok and whatever, like AI models to answer my questions. If I'm studying or helping my kids study about American history or math, I'm not searching for sites on Google. I'm asking an AI model about it to, provide more information. Let's go a little deeper into the subject, and it's helping to facilitate that. Does sometimes it still, does it hallucinate and not give all the facts? Yeah, that's true. It does, and like I'm able to catch some of that. So that's kind of maybe maybe the dangerous part of it of sorts. But to be honest, like we have the whole internet, and people kind of just focus in on certain websites, certain things, and then take those as truths as well, without fact checking it or kind of diving deeper. So I mean, the web already presented that problem, but I think with model chats, it presents itself maybe in a little more serious of a way, because if you're just kind of interfacing with that AI agent and you're not asking follow up questions and you're not being skeptical or playing devil's advocate or being analytical, then you could fall into that trap, easy as well. But again, it's same thing with the internet, same thing with just Googling something. But I think this is just just that much more kind of dialed into that type of maybe concern that I have. Um, but in terms of the future, yeah, like I don't know what search engines are really going to look like. It's definitely not going to be a Google or a Bing or like a Brave search that you see today. It's going to be a lot more AI focused. And really, I think just the broader picture of what websites in general are going to look like is probably going to be different than how we experience a website today. I would imagine it's going to be more so of like an AI browser catered experience where if you're searching for something, AI is just going to go and get and curate all that content for you, instead of you going to a site. It's just going to be some curated content experience about that subject that you might be looking for, even if it's some brand website or a restaurant website, something like that, where typically you want to go to that website. I think it's going to turn into more of that kind of catered experience, which honestly is cool because websites are so dull and repetitive, and like that. There's not like a lot of creativity in websites because I mean they're all the same. Let's be honest. We kind of just scroll through the homepage really quick, and if it's a product, we go to the pricing page. And then maybe if there's some like pictures of the app, we look at that. But we just want to kind of get in and play with the app, and then we don't the whole like website, like all the website. That's mainly just for SEO. Honestly, like I don't think that most people care about like the majority of a website past the landing page and the pricing information if it's a product. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to this actually. But let's see where some of the models rank today. Let's Okay, before we go to Msty.studio here, let's look at Live Bench. I think this is updated just a couple weeks ago now, but yeah, we're seeing Gemini 2.5 still pretty high up here. I think if we toggle off all these other ones and just look at coding, like I think it doesn't appear as high. We have O3 Mini high and medium just above it, but I still mainly hear people talk about 2.5 Pro specifically for coding. And this is an interesting way to kind of just track, LM benchmarks, see the leaderboard. Another way is if you have access to Msty.studio. So right now, Msty.studio, you have to have an Orem license in order to view Msty.studio to gain access to it. And I think we'll probably make this available as well. This is a modal matchmaker. And let's see, this is a way to do something very similar. Most people have a particular task that they're doing and they want to leverage AI for, right? So, again, we hear a lot about coding from developers, but I mean, AI is for everyone. Developers certainly are the most vocal, most active. Again, they're the innovators. The innovators are going to be a high concentration of developers, but um, every single, basically every task, every position in your corporate life, your work life, and even a lot in your home life, right? You're gonna have something that you can leverage AI for. Again, maybe you're not like diving into it right away. And for some people, it's certainly going to take longer. There's going to be that adoption and change management, but there's really little reason that you cannot use AI today to just make your life a lot easier. Um, well, I will say a lot of corporations, government agencies, and whatnot, like obviously they don't want to send their sensitive data over to a big LLM, which makes Msty even a more attractive choice because you don't have to use a cloud-based LLM. You could use a local model, and all that security, all that privacy is just local. We at Msty have no idea what you're doing with the app or with Studio. We don't collect any data from what you're doing, so we have zero idea what it is that you're doing, which is great because in that regard, there's security right there. It's we don't have access to your data. It's going to be very difficult for someone else to gain access to your data unless they're able to get onto your computer and then launch the app or launch Studio to see what it is that you're doing. But hey, that's why you have a login to log into your computer. But let's take a look at this. So by default, we have the generalist of all trades, the GOAT. If that's all the way over to 100, it's still saying that Gemini 2.5 is kind of top brass right here. But let's look for just the coders. What do the coders want? Let's just zip that all the way down to 0 and then put coding up to 100. And no surprise, we still see Gemini 2.5 Pro at the very top, followed by O3 Mini and then 3.7 for Claude Sonnet. A little disappointed in some of these other ones that kind of came up quickly and then went down. Yeah, even right here, like GPT 4.1 is pretty low. So, and Grok 3, is kind of another one that Yeah, I was curious about to see how it would do with the coding, but once their API opened up, it seemed like people use it and then stop pretty much right away. Let's see what else might be important though. Let's zoom up. Data analysis, maybe instructions following is pretty important, and then let's do maybe some reasoning and mathematics all the way up. And look at that, I don't know if that really changed anything at the top. Still got Gemini 2.5 right there. But let's say coding isn't what we're looking for. Maybe not mathematics, but we're looking for something that is probably a little more generalist. So let's float that up to the top. Let's give some weight to language. Let's give some more weight to instructions following, data analysis, maybe not so much, but let's add some more reasoning in there. And then, simplification. Yeah, if we're in the business world, we want to make sure things are simplified very nicely. Don't want a lot of friction. And then let's demonstrate rewriting ability. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We want that. And summarization. All right. Well, I don't know what doesn't have Gemini 2.5 at the top. Um, to be honest, in terms of writing, I still would probably prefer something like a Chat GPT. But also, to be honest, I haven't like played around with writing with Gemini 2.5. So if I do that, maybe I will be pleasantly surprised. Maybe Gemini 2.5 right now is the goat across all categories. All right. Well, I'm kind of curious to see where GPT falls on this. Let's take a look here for just GPT. And we have 4.1, 4.0. Oh, ranking a little lower, it seems. Interesting. Maybe let's remove data analysis and then reasoning. Maybe it's not as important. And story generation. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. I think that's where we're going to see GPT come up a little more. So we have O3 Mini and GPT moved up. Okay. That is where it is then. But yeah, this is just a great tool to play around with and help find the model that is best for the task that you want to do. Which is very helpful because again, there's a lot of models out there. A lot of models are kind of dialed in more so into one kind of context, subject matter, or expertise than others. So if you don't really know which model would be the best, then try this out. And then also a cool thing, well, I'm here and now that I'm thinking about it, is if I was to go into turnstiles, the cool thing here is that you could create a turnstile, and let's just call this one test, and then add an entry where essentially like you're making use of the best of different models. So maybe right here is like, tell me history about Roman Empire. And then maybe you have a particular model that is the best at historical information. I don't know who that is, but let's say it's Grok 3. So let's try that. And then you could add a new entry, and let's say Grok 3, very good at just very wordy historical, but not really that great at summarization. I just want some bullet points here. So then you could take the context from this first one and then add it to this next one right here and say, summarize the findings from the previous message. Okay. And let's just use Cogito for that. And then I'm going to save this out real quick and let's give this a try, actually. Might as well. And, I'm just doing like a really, really simple example, but let's go here and then I'm going to add a turnstile. Okay, so I have that turnstile activated and let's go ahead and run it. Tell me about the Roman Empire. All right, so Grok 3 is going. Boom, boom. Giving some good information here. Give me a lot of information. I guess Grok 3 was pretty wordy. I was just kind of joking about that, but hey, gave me a lot of good information. And now Cogito is going to just summarize that message. Let's see what it says. Let's see how quick this is. So here's a summary of the key points. Here's a timeline. Here's key achievements, reasons for decline, legacy. Hey, that was actually pretty cool. So yeah, that's just like a really off the cuff basic example um, for leveraging the best AI for the task. Again, you have a conversation chain, and it may be that the default or whatever model that you have selected might be good for answering some things, but not others. That's where turnstiles come into play. You can empower this thing like crazy. Uh, I'm gonna yeah, I'm gonna create some training videos that go a lot more in depth into this, but just to give you a really quick example of how you can use multiple models and kind of leverage the best of that model to get it what you are trying to do. So it helps you better perform the task that you're trying to do. So yeah, great new feature that's in Msty.studio. All right, and that is it for this week. I hope you all enjoyed, and until next time.